Hi, my name's Janie Agyagos. I'm a wildlife biologist with the Coconino National Forest. And today we're talking a little bit about some work that the National Forest and Arizona Game and Fish is doing to improve our habitat for pronghorn. People don't realize how different pronghorn are from all other ungulates in North America. They really are in a class of their own. They're the only species in their family, and they're the only remaining genus in their family. And so their closest relative is, believe it or not, a giraffe. It's not even the goat, antelope that are in Africa and Asia. So they really are a different animal. There's lots of things that makes them different. The horns on their head are not a horn, and they're not an antler. They're really a cross between that. They have a pronged horn, so that's one thing that makes them different. Another thing that makes them different from our other ungulates, deer and elk in particular, is that they will not jump fence. They don't like to jump fence. They very rarely jump fences. They really prefer to go under. We started doing a fence inventory with volunteers to monitor inventory all of our range fences to determine, what condition they were in and whether the fence wires arrangement were within specification for wildlife passage. And so through this work that our volunteers have done, we have identified certain fences in pronghorn country that did not meet the specification for pronghorn fencing. And so we've had a series of volunteer work events to modify these fences that where the bottom wire was barbed and too low, to replace it with smooth wire and raise it so that it was easier for pronghorn to cross under. Here's an example of a fence that's not built to wildlife specifications. In pronghorn country, we need our fences to have smooth bottom wire, and we need this bottom wire to be 18 inches high, so that would be about here. And the top wire would be about 42 inches high. Sometimes in some places our volunteer found fences that were just not needed. They tied into nothing. Cattle could walk around one end and the other. So they really had no function. And so after working with the permittees and our range folks to make sure that it was okay to remove those fences, we did remove a couple miles of unneeded fences in pronghorn country. We had one pronghorn buck that died, got hung up in a fence. And when that fence was inventoried, it was determined that that fence had no purpose. Cattle could walk around either side. For some reason, something changed in the past. Maybe a section of fence came down. Maybe the rotation of cattle in that area changed. But that fence was completely removed. But unfortunately, one animal died in it before it could be removed. So good healthy grasslands are not just important for pronghorn. There's really an entire suite of grassland species that are declining because our grasslands have declined in condition either from encroached shrubs and trees and higher canopy cover, less of a grassland, more of a shrubland or a woodland. But we have other things that are happening in our grasslands. For instance, introduction of non-native grasses that have really spread and taken over our grasslands. Some of these grass species like layman's lovegrass are not very palatable unless they're just newly green. And so when livestock are grazing, if it's not the right time of year to graze layman lovegrass, then they're selecting the native grasses and kind of overgrazing those and leaving the laymans. So the problem with layman's lovegrass, the seeds are gone, but this is a layman's lovegrass. The seeds are so tiny, they're wind-borne seeds that really are going to be not really nutritionally valuable to granivorous small mammals and birds. So small mammals and birds, rodents, things like that eat seeds that really depend on seeds. If you have a grassland that's dominated by a non-native invasive like layman's lovegrass, you have lost a lot of diversity, maybe 15 to 20 species of native bunch grasses. And some of those native bunch grasses would have had bigger seeds that would have been more nutritious and had more food value for granivorous critters. So there's a whole group of species that are declining in our grasslands. Across the United States, American kestrels are declining because of loss of prairie, reduction of suitable grasslands, loss of their prey in grasslands, particularly invertebrates and grasshoppers and things like that. So our grasslands are slowly declining, and we're seeing the result in declining grassland species populations, and not just pronghorn, but other things as well.
Listening to The Verde is brought to you by Friends of the Verde River. Please visit verderiver.org/listening for more videos and resources.